What is up, everybody? It's Animac here for AnimeUproar, and today I will be delving deep into the life of Mirio Togata, aka Lemillion, a member of the Big Three and one of the strongest and most noble hero students in the history of UA. Mirio is the always smiling, friendly, and energetic mentee of Sir Night-Eye, and he was the top candidate for becoming All Might's successor before All Might met Deku. Mirio is also one of my favorite characters in Boku no Hero. He might even be my absolute favorite if I'm being honest, and so in this video I will explain exactly why Mirio is such an amazing character, and why he is one of my favorite tragic heroes in anime. I say tragic because Mirio has led a difficult life full of hardships, and yet the way that he has dealt with these hardships made him who he is today. Mirio is a very powerful and important character, and he is an inspiration to so many people, both inside the world of Boku no Hero and in our own world. Because let's face it, there are many important life lessons that we as readers and viewers of Boku no Hero can learn from Mirio. And that is exactly what I will be talking about in this video. If you enjoyed the Boku no Hero content here on the channel and you want us to keep it going, please leave a like to let me know. And if you happen to be new to AnimeUproar, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell to turn on all notifications. Seriously, you have to click the bell and turn on all notifications if you want to see our videos, otherwise YouTube will just bury them. It's just the way it goes. You can also hit me up on Twitter and Instagram at AnimeUproar for all the latest Boku no Hero news and updates. Finally, heads up, this video will contain manga spoilers, including some big spoilers. But if you just want to know about Mirio's origins and quirk without additional spoilers, you can watch my video on the Big Three and their quirks explained, link in the description. However, I got a lot of requests in the comments to talk about Mirio's life with spoilers, so that is what I'll be doing in this video. Please proceed with caution. When we first meet Mirio, he appears to be an overpowered mad lad who is always smiling, always positive, and full of energy. As we learn more about Mirio, we realize that he has an incredible ability to remain positive and to keep smiling even when he is facing the toughest of challenges. Which is one of the reasons why his mentor and former sidekick of All Might, Sir Night-Eye, believed that Mirio should be the successor of All Might rather than Deku. But the more we learn about Mirio, the more we realize what an impressive person he truly is, and how hardworking, dedicated, and courageous he is even in the face of impossible challenges. Back when he was a child, Mirio fell into a river and he was saved from drowning by a pro hero. This had a big impact on Mirio, and along with the positive example set by All Might as the symbol of peace, Mirio was inspired to become a hero just like All Might and the hero who had saved him. But even though he decided to become a hero at a very young age, Mirio had one major challenge ahead of him. Mirio's father explained to him that his quirk, permeation, was both extremely difficult to master and very dangerous to use. This is because if Mirio made even the smallest mistake while his quirk is activated, he could be cut in two or have parts of his body cut off from the rest of his body. His father presumably had a similar quirk, and he gave up on being a hero because of how dangerous this type of quirk was. But Mirio refuses to give up on his dream of becoming a hero. He spent many years working extremely hard in order to learn to control his quirk. And while he underwent this intense training, he faced many hardships and setbacks. For example, he was often laughed at by other students because he would get parts of his body stuck inside objects that he was trying to pass through. Or he would become stuck upside down in the ground. Or he would lose all his clothes and end up completely nude in front of his classmates. If you've ever been to high school, or any school really, you know how hard everyone tries to fit in and how difficult it can be to stand out and be laughed at by everyone around you. But Mirio accepted all of this because he was so determined to learn to control his quirk. Eventually, Mirio did manage to do the impossible and he learned to control his quirk. Even though he was an underachiever when he first started attending UA, he was eventually taken under the care of Sir Night-Eye, and he quickly became one of the strongest and most successful hero students in all of Japan. He managed to do this not because he was lucky to be born with an overpowered quirk, but because he worked unbelievably hard and risked his own safety on a daily basis in order to learn to master a quirk that was thought to be virtually impossible to master. Even though Mirio knew that as one man he could not save everyone, he chose Lemillion as his hero name so that it would be a constant reminder that he wants to save at least 1,000,000 people. This really emphasizes the level of commitment that Mirio has for helping others and for serving the cause of justice. Another great indication of what kind of person Mirio is his friendship with another member of the Big Three, Tamaki Amajiki. Tamaki was always a very shy and nervous person, and he had a hard time coping with social situations. Back when Mirio and Tamaki attended middle school together, Tamaki was having trouble using his quirk because he was too nervous and he didn't have the confidence to be a hero. Mirio took it upon himself to cheer Tamaki up and to help him gain the confidence that he needs to master his own quirk and become someone capable of being an effective hero. Even though Tamaki always had low self-esteem and he thought only the worst things about himself, Mirio saw Tamaki differently. He believed that Tamaki was a nice and kind person, and he believed that Tamaki had an incredibly cool and useful quirk. And it was thanks to Mirio's encouragement and support that Tamaki learned to use his quirk and also became one of the Big Three. As a result of Mirio's incredible work ethic, unshakable positive attitude, and endless courage and energy, and with the guidance of Sir Night-Eye, Mirio went from an underachiever with a quirk that was almost impossible to control to one of the best and strongest hero students in all of Japan. And he also became the top contender for becoming All Might's successor as the next symbol of peace. That alone tells us so much about Mirio as a character, but that is not the end of Mirio's story. Being the disciplined and dedicated hero student that he is, Mirio took instructions very seriously, and this goes double for instructions given to him directly by his mentor Sir Night-Eye. So on the day that Mirio and Deku came face to face with Overhaul and Eri, a little girl that was clearly trying to run away from Overhaul, Mirio's first instinct was not to interfere because Sir Night-Eye instructed him to stay off Overhaul's radar. And that was so that Overhaul wouldn't realize that he was the subject of a major police investigation. Even though it was clear that Eri was in distress and that she needed help. Overhaul claimed that she was his daughter and that she was just upset because he scolded her, which would be a fairly normal interaction between a parent and a child. However, there was something clearly off about the whole situation, not least of which were the bandages that were wrapped around Eri's arms and legs. Bandages that clearly implied that she was being mistreated. Eventually, Eri willingly walked away with Overhaul, and Mirio and Deku decided not to pursue the matter any further, which was in accordance with Sir Night-Eye's instructions. But both Mirio and Deku would later come to regret this decision. They eventually realized that Eri was not Overhaul's daughter. Instead, she was an experimental guinea pig for Overhaul. In order to harness the incredible power of her quirk Rewind, Overhaul tortured Eri again and again so that he could extract her blood and then use that blood for his cruel experiments. When they learned that failing to help Eri that day resulted in her suffering even more under Overhaul's brutal treatment, both Mirio and Deku were deeply upset and disappointed with themselves. They felt that they had failed to protect an innocent child, the very thing that pro heroes are expected to do. And Mirio vowed to right this wrong and to rescue Eri from the clutches of Overhaul once and for all. During the raid on the Yakuza headquarters, Mirio bravely battles multiple members of the 8 Precepts of Death on his own, and his skills prove to be too much for the vast majority of them. Eventually he comes face to face with the leader of the Precepts, Overhaul, along with some other important members of the organization, including Chronostasis and Shin Nemoto. Even against such strong opponents, Mirio still appears to have the upper hand, but eventually Shin Nemoto is able to use Eri against Mirio. Knowing that if Eri was in danger, Mirio wouldn't hesitate to put his own life on the line to protect her, Shin shoots a quirk-destroying bullet in the direction of Eri. Mirio, who could easily dodge the bullet if it had been directed at him, is forced to place his own body in between the bullet and Eri in order to protect her. This leads to Mirio being hit by the quirk-destroying bullet, and as a result, Mirio permanently loses the ability to use his quirk. But even though losing their quirk would be enough to devastate most people, Mirio does not let even something as drastic as this affect him. He simply smiles at Eri and tells her that she will never be in pain again, and then he continues to fight against Overhaul without his quirk. As a result of his intense physical training, something he had to put himself through in order to learn to control his dangerous quirk, Mirio is able to fight and hold his own against Overhaul using just his physical strength for 5 whole minutes. Mirio takes a lot of hits and he suffers a lot of injuries, but he keeps fighting against all odds long enough for Deku, Sir Night-Eye, and others to arrive on the scene. In a last-ditch effort, Mirio is able to carry Eri to safety before losing consciousness and collapsing in the arms of his mentor, Sir Night-Eye. Mirio's ability to fight off multiple members of the 8 Precepts on his own, to hold them off even after losing his quirk, and to rescue Eri and carry her to safety against all odds simply defies all expectations. Mirio's courage, strength, and determination can truly be classified as superhuman. And the fact that he was able to stand his ground against Overhaul for 5 whole minutes without a quirk shows just how hard Mirio trained in order to learn to use his quirk in the first place. It wasn't his quirk that made him so strong. It was his unmatched hard work and determination that made Mirio who he is today. But now, after all the years he spent learning to control his quirk, Mirio finds himself tragically robbed of the ability to ever use it again, thanks to being shot by the quirk-destroying bullet. But since Mirio chose to take the bullet in order to protect Eri, he has no regrets about what he did, and he bravely accepts the loss of his quirk. Unfortunately, losing his quirk was not the only tragedy that befell Mirio during the attack on the Yakuza headquarters. After Mirio loses consciousness, his mentor and friend Sir Night-Eye is mortally wounded by Overhaul. As Sir Night-Eye lies dying in the hospital, Mirio visits him and speaks to him one last time. During their brief conversation, Sir Night-Eye encourages Mirio to keep going and keep pursuing his dreams. And Night-Eye tells Mirio that he will one day become an outstanding hero. The death of Sir Night-Eye is of course devastating for Mirio. Sir Night-Eye was one of the first people to recognize Mirio's potential, and Mirio's ability to go from an underachiever to one of the best hero students in Japan was in large part due to Sir Night-Eye's guidance. If they were in Mirio's shoes at this moment, most people would completely fall into depression and despair. In practically a single day, Mirio lost his quirk, which he had worked his whole life to master, and then he lost his mentor to whom he owed so much. But does Mirio give in to sadness and despair? On the contrary, when Deku visits Mirio following the death of Sir Night-Eye, Mirio is again his normal, upbeat, and energetic self, and he is even doing physical exercises in order to get even stronger. Even though everyone would expect him to be sad after losing his quirk and his mentor, Mirio knows that Sir Night-Eye didn't want him to be sad. In fact, Sir Night-Eye admired Mirio precisely because Mirio was able to keep smiling and stay positive even when faced with the most difficult challenges. Mirio also doesn't want Eri to be sad when she sees that Mirio is sad, so he commits to being his cheery self once again despite everything that he just went through. When Deku asks Mirio if he would ever consider inheriting his quirk, One for All, now that he has lost his own, Mirio says that he wouldn't because that would make Deku suffer. As always, Mirio is optimistic about life and about the future, and who knows, maybe one day after Eri learns to control her quirk, she will be able to rewind his body back to a time when he had his own quirk. In fact, Mirio is far more concerned about the well-being of others, including Deku and Eri, than he is about losing his quirk. How many people do you know who, after facing so much hardship and struggle and tragedy, would still put a smile on their face, maintain a positive outlook, and put the well-being of others ahead of just feeling sorry for themselves? When Mirio takes Eri to the school festival later on in the story, specifically in chapter 182, and when he sees Eri finally smiling and moving on with her life after the trauma she had suffered under Overhaul's control, Mirio is so happy that he actually cries tears of joy. This brief scene says everything there is to be said about Mirio and what kind of person he really is. If you want to understand the beauty and greatness of Mirio, just look at the impact that his character has had on other people. Look at how Mirio's life affected the lives of Tamaki, Eri, and Deku, among others. Mirio was able to help them, to motivate them, and to make them better people. They all love and respect Mirio for that very reason, and as tragic as Mirio's life has been up to this point, perhaps the true title of this video should have been The Inspirational Life of Mirio, because that is what Mirio is, an inspiration to all of us. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more videos like it, please leave a like to let me know. And if you happen to be new to AnimeUproar, please don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell to turn on all notifications. Feel free to hit me up on Twitter and Instagram at AnimeUproar. I want to give a big thank you to all of our AnimeUproar patrons for supporting our work and making videos like this one possible. Special thank you to all of our Pro Hero tier patrons, including the one and only Gilgamesh, Baby Ray, Nothing But a Fan, Jason Wilson, King Zeldris, $50 Beat, Ekarad GN, Anatoly Kazatsky, DJ Nathaniel, Alpha Dio, and Angel Cruz. And of course, I can't forget our The One tier patrons, the ones who stand above all other clans, including Ingrata, Alolanado, Matty Mac, Makotakun, Seth Cooper, and The World. And you know he's serious because he didn't say Zawaldo. If you enjoy our videos and you feel that they provide value for you, please consider becoming a patron. Even a single dollar will give you access to our patron exclusive Discord, and your name will appear in our videos along with these amazing people. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, see ya, Space Cowboys.